Welcome back in to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Parkside Cabin Rentals. If you're wanting a snowy winter getaway in the Smokies, now is the time to get up there. Well, I don't mean this week because it's going to be snowy everywhere, but now in the winter is the time to get up there, and it's beautiful in the mountains this time of year. Or think about this. I know people who get together with their old college buddies and they watch these conference tournaments. Hey, they've got some huge cabins up there in the Smoky Mountains. Just beautiful. Free parking in Gatlinburg when you go into town. But that's the place to plan your tournament watching. Get your own cabin. Parkside Cabin Rentals. The Ogle family knows what they're doing. Trust me. Been doing it since the national park first came into operation. ParksideCabinRentals.com to find the perfect cabin for you. All right, before we go further, I want to put in a poll question that we'll leave up for a while. It's basketball oriented today. Here we go. I want to know your take on this. This Tennessee basketball team, and your options are, won't make it past round 2, will reach the Sweet 16, or is at least Elite 8 bound. So take your smartphone, you see the QR code, click on that thing. It'll allow you to vote in our little poll here. We want to follow what you think. You can also go to sportsource.tv/polls and answer that. But I want to know how far you think this Tennessee basketball team is going. Second round, Sweet 16, Elite 8, right there. Okay, we talked a little bit. We kind of got out. We stepped on this subject a little bit. What went on that allowed Georgia's guards to go nuts? And Tennessee did make an adjustment there, but let's go ahead and show you what Georgia's guards did yesterday. Usually Tennessee's had trouble with the big guys inside is what we've talked about. Yesterday, 13, 14, 21, 13, and 9 from 5 guards. They hit 14 threes. I mean, I was going to ask you, is this just one of those days where they're hitting their shots? Or did Tennessee need to adjust? They made their adjustment, so we've already covered that. Is there anything else we want to talk about with Tennessee's defense then, since we already crushed this topic?
Well, I think I like in the defense that some of the things that we've adjusted this year, we've shown a little bit more full court pressure. Sometimes we press and try to turn them over in the full court. Sometimes we just kind of bother them and then get back. Now, that's going to be in preparation for a Florida team that we're going to be playing next week that's going to be wanting to play fast. But I like some of the adjustments and the different looks that Barnes and the staff have done defensively.
One of the things that's bothered me is how many times Tennessee's guards on the perimeter are leaving their feet. They're doing that on like the run out. That happened a couple of times when you're just leaving a wide open lane. Vescovi's bad about that. He got called for a foul doing that. To me, that's one of the fundamental things that they can look at and change. I just hate it when a defender, especially a guard, leaves their feet, doesn't affect the shot, but leaves a wide open lane for somebody to drive.
How hard is it to coach?
Well, I mean, so certain teams,
18, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah, certain teams you would talk about, you can't let them beat you from 3 or free, meaning you're going to run them off the line and you're going to make them finish twos, especially if you got Adu at the rim and you're going to make them score over the top of Adu. And so sometimes, and especially with the analytics are these days, it's getting guys off the line. Now, obviously, you don't want to foul a three-point shooter, but some of the coaches are all about not letting them beat you from 3.
And it also got to be taken into consideration that it's road games, and a lot of guys when they're at home they shoot a lot better just because that's the same gym they shoot the thousands of shots in all the time, so that could play a little bit of a role too. Defensively,
Isaiah, is there anything that you see that they need to be working on right now? Are there areas you say, I'd like to see this improved?
No, I really don't have a big problem with the defense now. Of course, if you go back to the Mississippi State game, me being a post player, it was a little rough to watch, but and then if we start running everybody off the 3 and run everybody to Adu, and then he starts getting in foul trouble, then we're really in trouble. So it's one of those things, the cat and mouse game. Is just have to go week to week with.
Well, it's one of the things that I see from the post side of it is one, doing your work early.
Yeah.
So like that post move against Tolu to basically win the game, we got complacent on the backside. And so he posted up, and by that time, it's too late against a good post player. So, one, you got to do your work early so they're catching it further off the block. 2, guards got to help your post player by having incredible ball pressure. If they're able to just put the ball over the head and pick you apart and throw you an easy pass right on time, the post players at high-level caliber players, they're at a disadvantage. So it all works in unison, and thankfully, we're not going to see another post player like that for a couple weeks.
Yeah, they're kind of few and far in between nowadays.
Makes you worry, though, if you get the wrong draw in the tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, is that still – we went into this season.
Yes.
One of the things we talked about was post depth. Okay, is that – and look, just to make this clear, if we were covering Purdue today, if I were sitting in West Lafayette, Indiana, doing a television show about Purdue basketball, I'd be saying, what do they have to overcome? So don't take this as negative, but is that still, if you have one concern for this team come March, is it that post depth? Is it the post play?
I think it's post play, and then that you talk about all the time. Consistently making threes. The way that you're going to have to score to keep up with teams that can score at a high level. I think our defense, regardless of post players, will always keep us in the game enough. But we got to have consistent three-point shooting.
And with post play, I wonder if Estrella can help you a little. I mean, I like the way he plays. He can run the floor. He can shoot. And real quick, John, on the guard play, did you know Vescovi? I'm not a big guy on the plus minus, but it's a good stat. Vescovi was a team high plus 17 on the plus minus. Josiah James was 0.
I had him at +3 yesterday on our analytics, but still go ahead.
But Gainey was -7. So you add that in the mix, and maybe that's one reason Gainey didn't play quite as much.
Gainey's plus minus usually isn't pretty good, and if you look at there are these metrics now that grade the entire player. Have you seen these things? Danny Miles, it's basically they come up with a formula that tells you how a player plays. You have to decide for yourself whether you value a blocked shot the same way you value a made three. He's got a formula that he says does this. Gainey consistently is at the bottom of that formula.
Well, here's two things. We were just talking about off air, but I think the two guys that are struggling with the consistency of most from the guard position are Gainey and Vescovi. And the reason I think that is because you got two guys that their entire careers have been seen as scorers, maybe at different levels and different teams, seen as scorers. Well, now and Meshack's improved. Josiah's been pretty consistent in our last two games. Well, now as this offense goes to more ball screen, kind of one-on-one, make plays for each other, and Connect and Ziegler, those guys that are used to having the ball in their hand, like Isaiah talked about with Vescovi, they've got to learn how to allow other people to find their open shots for them. And so Gainey and Vescovi are not used to playing like that. They're used to being able to go create a shot for themselves. And so that's why I think you see their struggles, and that's why I think you see Meshack and Josiah playing better from the perimeter.
Very good. Tell you what, we went a little bit over. That's okay. We got the bracketology report. We got the SEC title race we're going to look at. We've got scouting report. Florida's in here next. We'll talk about that game. Then we've got transfer portal. We got UT football. More and more and more on this show. Come on back on the Sports Source.